I'm Saul Hillikers. This is my wife, Alyssa. We've been married for 7 years. So we've got 2 and 1 on the way. Siren is our son. He's 3.5.
He's 3.5.
He's a solid 3.5. Cyrilla is almost 2. And then yet to be named is due in December. Got married right out of high school. We've been coming here since November. I was sitting right on Main Street. We were shopping around for a church, and it's right there, so we'll try it. I was raised in the military, grew up over on the other side of the state in a little town called Taylor. My dad bounced around, obviously, and then at one point we moved to Alabama, lived there for a few years while my dad was stationed at Fort Benning, and then moved back up here after he got put on reserves so he could go to school at GBSU, and then we've just settled in basically. We always went to Baptist churches, so I grew up going to Baptist churches wherever we could find them. My mom was raised Catholic, and then my dad was raised Pentecostal, so they settled into something a little bit calmer than what they were used to when they had a family. And I've enjoyed it, so I haven't really left. It was kind of gradual. My mom always read through the Bible. We were homeschooled, so she was able to add that in. I don't know that I fully understood at that point, but it was kind of one of those that's what you do sort of things. But definitely at 14, I had a moment in high school. Would be kindly described as very backslidden as I navigated life in the world. Yeah, after we got married, there were just a lot of things that started to make sense. A lot of kind of having that practical basis really helped me to understand the importance of the Bible, of kind of where the danger is in error. That was the big one, is I had a different perspective, so it was a lot easier to see the damage that bad doctrine caused. So that's been a big one especially when we've been looking around for churches.
I'm a stay-at-home wife.
I'm a welder, primarily. I've been working in industrial for a while, doing like millwright work. My grandfather was a welder. He taught me when I was 16. So as I've developed in my career, it's been another big one, because as I've gained responsibility, there's a lot of ways where now I don't really have a job that I can just coast by. Some of the decisions I make affect other people, and there's a lot of responsibility in that, so that's helped me care a lot more as well.
So I grew up in what I would describe as a lukewarm Christian family. We went to church usually on Sundays. We were involved in the Wednesday night, children's ministries and stuff at the church we were going to. But there wasn't really much enforced at home. And also during that time, my parents got divorced. That's been hitting hard more lately, just knowing how much different life is today with my parents having been divorced than it could have been. Especially with that, my dad stopped going to church, my brother stopped going to church, and even up now the last few years, my mother hasn't gone to church. Trying to learn from where my parents probably fell short, and trying to raise my children to be more knowledgeable. Because I feel like I got baptized also probably about 14. I didn't even have the head knowledge necessarily, like that Saul referenced to, because, I just got the snippets from Sundays and all of that. And so I probably really wasn't until a few years ago, becoming a parent, when I became pregnant with Siren, that really starting to own it for myself and diving into more topics and really making the faith my own. I guess in high school, like my youth pastor was probably be the strongest influence in my life. And then Saul and I got married, and then been able to build off of each other, I think.
We met really weird. So we met in the high school drama team, but right out of high school we started dating, got married pretty quick.
We dated 6 months and were engaged for 8.
Yeah.
So
we realized pretty quick that we already knew each other. I was around when her parents were getting divorced. she was around for some of my family dramas. So we didn't really have a home church for the first few years of us being married. Come 2019, we ended up going for a little while, like almost 4 years. We were going to community church, going there and staying there for nearly 4 years before the pastor left. We came here just because it was here in town.
We were looking for something a little more solid in theology and stuff, so there were some things like just looking to see what people had said about different churches on Facebook.
It took us a few weeks before we ended up here, but paid it a visit. Mark opened the sermon with a quote from Spurgeon, so I said, you know what, that's not bad, we can come back here. Since then, we've just been very welcomed. It's definitely like the preaching. I like the openness and the accountability. I appreciate the structure that this church has.
After the first service, we had gone to Culver's, and we had Wesley Johnson come up to us, introduced himself. It's like, hey, I'd seen you at the service. And so he stood there talking to us for a few minutes while food was coming out. There's
general structural reasons for why it's valuable to be an official member of the congregation. Commitment is important. It's important to make that decision and have it finalized. I think that there's a lot of value in having a concreteness. There's a peace of mind in that. Makes it a lot easier to be involved. Makes other decisions in life a lot easier when, this part of it is stable and decided. Allendale Baptist is very biblically sound. A lot of their structures are straight out of the Bible, and there's a lot of accountability. The community is very real here. You can definitely tell that there's a lot of people here who actually care.
The church has been very solid. The community has been wonderful and supportive. It feels like a church. Also with this church, there is just so many people nearby. So you're actually able to have that fellowship. You have the small groups to really build off of each other. And I think it just really helps with the sanctification too, when you have that community and that regular fellowship, even outside of the Sunday mornings.
I think the biggest thing that Jesus has done is kept me out of trouble. There's a lot of things that I think do come very naturally, at least in our fallen state, that having Christ as kind of a weather vane. Without Jesus, I can definitely say that my life would be in a much more turbulent place than it is, without a doubt. No, Jesus changes everything.
Jesus changes everything.